Hi there, everyone. Welcome to our show. My name is Curtis, and this is Getting Answers, the entrepreneur show that's about getting answers to the questions that you have as an entrepreneur or professional. This is my very first show here on Blab, and so I am delighted for those who have decided to join me on a great show here. And we've got a show title of How Do I Find My Purpose? And that's a question that many of us have been asking, and maybe not in so many words, but we're asking, how do I make of this life? What is this life about? And why am I here? And I think that is the most number one question that most of us are asking. That is the most frequent question is asked throughout life and throughout the ages, if you will. And so on today, we're going to get some clarity on answering that question. How do I find my purpose? And if you make it personal, how do you find your purpose? So let's dive into that. And well, before we dive into that, let's talk a little bit more about me. Once again, my name is Curtis Brooks, and I have been doing transformational speaking for about 10 years now, and dibbled and dabbled in different things there. And it's just kind of rounded me or shaped me to become the person that I am. And as a transformational speaker, I work with professional men and women to create a winning mindset through my transformational speaking, coaching, training, and workshops. So here on Blab, again, we're talking about how do I find my purpose? And I promise you, this is going to be a very exciting show. And again, thank you for joining us, for those who have joined now and will join later. And typically in Curtis fashion, what I like to do is to read the definition of the word. And so I'll be reading the definition of the word purpose. And this definition will be coming from dictionary.com. So it is an online dictionary. And here it goes. The word purpose means the reason for which something exists or is done, made, used, etc. 2, an intended or desired result, end, aim, or goal. Number 3, a determination. Number 4, the subject at hand, the point at issue. Number 5, our last definition, practical result, effect, or advantage to act to good purpose, to act to a good purpose. And I like to read the definition of words because it's important to ensure that we are on the same page. It's very important. So that again was the definition of the word purpose. So to start this off, I'm just going to dive right into it. And finding your purpose. How do you find your purpose? And the easy answer is that we connect with others. We connect with others who have found their purpose. And you may ask, how do we know that they found their purpose? And that's an easy answer. We know that they found their purpose because our heart resonates their message. And the challenge sometimes, a lot of times, is that we don't want to sit still long enough to hear the message. We don't want to sit still to grab hold of the content and make the content or put the content in some kind of context, if you will, so that it fits and shapes our life. And we're dealing with things in such time as this, where we're at right now, this space that we're in right now. And we are having trouble making connection with people. And if we're having trouble making connection with people, it becomes very difficult to find your purpose. And somebody asked, how does this happen? It doesn't happen by circumstance. It just doesn't happen where it just falls into your lap. And most of us are thinking that our purpose is going to fall into your lap. And that can be so far from the truth. You've got to find your purpose. You've got to try and search for your purpose. And I won't say try. You've got to act on your own will to purposely head out to find your purpose. And that's exactly what this show is about. It's about finding your purpose. How do I find my purpose? And the beginning of finding your purpose is asking the question, And if there is no question, there is no hope. There's no chance of you discovering your purpose. And again, connecting with people, that really could be just a show in itself. Because when we connect with people, connect with others who have found their purpose, again, knowing that they have found their purpose, their message resonates with our heart. And most of us aren't so hard, or life hasn't beat up on us so much to the point where we don't have a heart. We can't hear. And hearing comes more than just by the ear. Hearing comes by the senses that we gather things intuitively. So again, the message that the person that you may connect with, their message will resonate with your heart. So that is in fact how you know that you have connected one with the message. But if you sit long enough, if you stay long enough, you will connect with your purpose. And no, the motive is not making duplicates. The motive is not creating twins. The motive is waiting long enough, connecting with those who know their purpose, that their message resonates with your heart. And once their message resonates with your heart, you can sit long enough, begin to get yourself nestled in, if you will. Begin to somewhat take up residence, if you will. And it doesn't mean that it's going to be your permanent residence, but you're going to take up residence in a way where you're going to know that this is my landing place for now. This is a place where I must take a seat and learn something. And perhaps you'll glean from all kinds of different areas of your life, or at least people that you will connect with in your life. But I promise you, if you sit long enough, if you sit and be still, you will find your purpose. And I don't want to get super spiritual, but your purpose is spiritual. My purpose is spiritual. Your purpose is a connection to a higher consciousness. And I don't want to say a new consciousness, but it's connected to a consciousness that already was and that is. So if we sit still, if we sit tight and make a deliberate effort to connect with those who already know their purpose, again, knowing that their message resonates with your heart. And if you sit for a while, you'll come to a place where you'll grab hold of your own purpose. And this is really awesome. This is really awesome. You guys got to get this, because purpose is the very thing that we're all searching for. There's no greater joy for man to find his purpose. And without purpose, man or woman or child, we are just wandering the earth. We result back to asking the question, why am I here? Why did I just end up in this place called Earth? You ended up here for a reason. And that reason was to find your purpose. And once you find your purpose, and here's the thing, you have to have asked yourself a question, why am I here? Most of us have asked that question. Most of us have pondered that question. We have walked the pavement, if you will. We have traveled from point A to point B and thereon to have our question answered as to why am I here? And if you want to know how do you find your purpose? It begins with the question. And when we decide to look into that question, we're going to find ourselves. We're going to find all those things that make us up as people, as a human being. And this morning I was talking, just kind of dialoguing, writing some things down, and it came to me that what if we were given a treasure, and in that treasure, you open it up, and the very top of that treasure, you've seen all the things that you disliked about people, about life, about society. There are all these things that you, perhaps different words that you don't like, different things that have happened in your life. And this is at the very top of the treasure when you open it up. But if you keep digging, if you keep pulling back the layers of stuff, if you will, that takes place in all of our lives, if you remove the hurt, the pain, the rejection, the abuse, the different words that were spoken in your life that said that you weren't going to accomplish, you're going to be a nobody, and different things that hurt us as people, we're still talking about the treasure. And so as you're peeling back the layers of the things that we have deemed as not worthy, the things in our lives that we have deemed as just junk, that we have deemed as this doesn't belong here, as we're looking through the treasure. What happens? What would happen if we stayed with the junk, if you will, and continue to dig through the mess, all of the things that disturbed us about life, all the things that may have disturbed us about people, the things that disturb us about ourselves, the habits that we may have picked up. What if we stayed long enough, we continued pulling back the layers, and as we pull back the layers of just stuff that we pick up along life from a child, if you will, we continued peeling back the layers, and all of a sudden we find the treasure. We find out what life was really intended for. We find the purpose. What if it was so that the gift that this God, this huge God, whoever he may be to you or to the rest of the world, what if the gift was to find your purpose? What if you found your purpose, but in order to find your purpose, you had to dig through all the things that were not favorable for you, all the things that went against you in life, all the things that hurt you, all the people who said that you were not going to succeed, all the things that said, this is impossible, your thought process. You had to fight the gatekeeper of your mind, if you will. You had to fight with people that discouraged us from time to time or on a daily basis. We had to live in different situations that were not of us at a particular time. What if it was so that in order to find your purpose, and I'm going to use the treasure in conjunction with the word purpose, what if the treasure you were looking for, that before you could find it, before you can get to the real treasure called your purpose, you had to dig through all the stuff that decided, or we allowed, through no understanding of our own, to take up residence in our mind. All those things, issues in life that would decide, well, I'm going to put my painting here. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to put this fixture here. All these different things are now taking residence in our mind. And we've got to now decide, again, that treasure, if you will, the very top layer of that treasure. We've got to decide what belongs and what doesn't. And what if the very thing that we were calling junk, and in fact, if we had taken the time with it, given time to the thing that we had deemed was no good, perhaps that is our very own lives. Perhaps that's how we feel about ourselves, that our life is not worth it. Our life is not worth living, that no one cares. What if it wasn't about what others thought about you, but it was about how you seen yourself? That you were no longer in the hands of those who would speak things to discourage you, that would say things to harm you, to hurt you, that would plant seeds or words of discouragement that we felt, or at least begin to affect our future. What if it was now in your hands? What if you were given the permission to say, I don't believe that anymore? That was once a place where I was at. Again, envisioning the treasure box that's been opened. We're looking at all these different things that we don't like. Remember, it's the connection. I'm still talking about the connection, because when you make the connection with the things, even the things that we don't like about ourselves, in most cases, the things that we don't like, wow, okay. Ooh, wow. Okay, I'm going to make you a host, Dr. Vibe, and hang on one second here. Okay, glad to hear that. Okay, great. Wow, I hope it was recording. I've been recording for a little while now, but nevertheless, again, we're talking about, how do I find my purpose? How do you find your purpose? Your purpose is going to be found in your connection. As I illustrated earlier, I talked about, what if you were given a treasure? What if life was a treasure box for you? And the hope of that treasure was just awesome. We just had fun with it. We decided that I'm going to open this treasure up now. And as we opened the treasure, we seen some things that we didn't like. We seen the very things that life represented, but we wanted no part of. What if in that treasure we had to figure out what were the good things and what were the bad things? But as we continued digging, we seen that there were no good things. And so we decided to close the box on that treasure, only to find out that we needed to wait. We needed to make a connection with the very things that we sometimes don't like about ourselves. And in opening the treasure box, again, we're looking at the very things that we don't like about ourselves, we don't like about society, the discouragement that we may have been told or has been spoken in our lives, the abuse that we may have dealt with in our lives, the naysayers. What if we open that treasure box and at the very top of that treasure box were the very things that we didn't like? We'd had to peel back the very things that we did not like about life, we didn't like about ourselves. And as I said earlier, when we connect with people, we've also got to connect with the very things that we don't like about ourselves. That is the most hardest thing to do, because we as people will make the connection with people from time to time without issue. And of course, some issues, because as people, we have issues. So we will make the connection with people a lot easier than we'll make the connection with our stuff. And in most cases, again, going back to that treasure, if we're not connecting with the very things at the top of that treasure, the things that we don't like, the things that have been spoken against us, spoken in a negative fashion, the things that have just cut us to our bone, if you will, the discouragement, the abuse, the neglect, the rejection, all these different things. What if life was so that in order to get to your purpose, in order to find your treasure, you had to connect with the things that were not likable, the things that we don't like about ourselves. And in most cases, we're quick to connect with people because we want what they have. I mentioned earlier, and hopefully I was heard because having audio issues, but I mentioned earlier, the way to find your purpose is to connect with people. Connect with others who have found their purpose. And the way that you know that you found your purpose is to sit a while, is to wait a while. The message that you hear from the person that you've connected with, it will resonate with your heart. And that's the perfect place for us to sit a while and learn something, glean from the information that they're sharing. And sooner or later, it will click. And when it clicks, you're going to revisit the treasure box, if you will. Begin to dig through the things that you don't like about yourself and begin to deal with those things. Begin to consider that finding my purpose is much, much more important than neglecting these items or this layer of stuff that life has dealt with me, the layer of discouragement, the layer of guilt, the layer of rejection, the layer of all kinds of different things. So as we wait a while, see, it takes time to find your purpose. And I think the thing that life has sold us, or people in life have sold us, they've sold us a bill of goods, and we've taken it to the counter to cash it in, and it was deemed as invalid. And we're going back to a place and a space to figure out, what did I do wrong? Why are they doing what they do? Why are they able to do what they do? And it looks like they have found something. And in fact, they have found something. They found their purpose. And again, the world has sold us a bill of goods. We've taken the check in hopes of trying to cash it in, and thinking we're going to find this pool of wealth or riches so quickly. And in truth, what the man didn't tell you, or the woman, what they didn't tell you is that it takes time to find your purpose. It takes patience to find your purpose. It takes digging through that very top layer of the treasure box. All of those different things that we don't like about ourselves, all those different layers of discouragement that have been spoken in our lives, all of those naysayers, the layer of naysayers, if you will, the layer of our own insecurities, our own fragileness, if you will, the layer of our own inability. It takes time to get through those things. And as I've said before in different shows that I've done, if you plant an apple seed on Wednesday, you will not have an apple tree, a full-grown apple tree, on Friday, to the point where you are taking apples off the tree, taking those apples and making apple pie and creating different recipes, or taking them to the market and to sell them. It doesn't work that way. It works in a way that it takes time. Again, we've been sold a bill of goods, folks, and we're trying to cash that check in. We're trying to take that check to the counter, only to say that this payment is voided. There's no money in the bank. And what the world has been trying to sell us is a storefront, if you will. And we're walking by ever so leisurely and enjoying the walk. But for the man who finds your treasure, or for the woman who finds her treasure, they found everything. And when you find your treasure, your purpose, again, I'm using treasure and purpose in conjunction with each other. They're saying that simultaneously, the same. And when you use the connection, as I spoke of in the very beginning, connecting with others, we'll find ourselves in people. We find our very behavior, the same behavior that others have, we find ourselves in people. We find that they have the same habits that we do. And it's interesting because relationships bring out sometimes the worst in us, or they bring out the best in us. And just like the treasure box, again, digging through all those things that we have deemed unfavorable, we have deemed kind of yucky. I don't like this about myself. A lot of times, the things that we see in other people, the things that we don't like in other people, it's something going on with us. So I want to encourage all of you to make a connection with the things that you don't like about yourself. Make a connection with them. And when you make a connection with them, you're going to find that, wow, those things that you don't like about yourself, they're not so bad. Because we're all dealing with those different things at different times in our life. And for the man or the woman who makes the connection with the very things that he or she does not like about themselves, and that sometimes we get jealous of another person, when we make a connection with the very things in our lives that, again, we don't like about ourselves, we'll find that it's an obstacle that we have been able to get over. We've been able to leap over that obstacle. And once we're able to leap over that obstacle, we're just moments closer to our purpose. Your purpose is not hidden from you. Your purpose is in plain sight. And again, most of us are asking the question, what is my life about? Why am I here? You're here for a purpose. You're here to find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you are going to discover the treasure that is beneath all of those things that you don't like about yourself. All of those things that have provoked you and other people, that they're no longer an obstacle for you. They're no longer an issue for you. But they're now yesterday's news. It's old news now. And now you have an opportunity to step into your greatness. You have an opportunity to step into your perfection. And your perfection is going to be found in your purpose. Once again, how do you find your purpose? Folks, it's not rocket science. It starts with asking a question. Why am I here? How do I find my purpose? What is my purpose? It starts with asking a question. Asking a question. Questions are the beginning of knowledge. Your questions are the beginning of knowledge. It shows that you're interested. And for the person who's not interested, there's no question. It's simple. But the beginning of knowledge starts with the question. And I'm going to move on to health. Many of us are trying to layer our lives with jewels, the same jewels that we have found in this treasure box, if you will. We're trying to doll ourselves up, if you will. Look handsome, look pretty. And health is ever so important. And the reason why health is so important, because, again, the same bill of goods that life has tried to sell us, those who have consistently injected distractions in our lives, if you will, with a purpose sometimes we don't understand. And that is to keep us distracted. And we have, again, taken this bill of goods in hopes of cashing it in. And the world has tried to tell us that if it looks good, it is good. And you may be asking, how does that relate to your health? What does health have to do with that? Well, it has everything to do with it because, again, we've been sold a bill of goods. We've been told that if it looks good, it is good. In a sense, taking care of the external, if you will, those physical things, that outer appearance, if you will, those things that look good. We buy the nice suit for us men. The woman buys a nice dress and adorns herself with jewelry, and it all looks good on the outside. But too often we neglect our mental and emotional health. And there's nothing wrong with physical health. There's nothing wrong with an individual taking care of the outward, external things about themselves, going to the gym, working out, making sure that they eat healthy, making sure that the inner parts of their body is healthy as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But all too often, the mental and emotional health goes neglected. And I'm going to step out on a limb, if you will, and venture to say that the mental and emotional health is the pillar that holds it all together. Because once you have found your purpose, you need to have your mind intact, mentally, emotionally. And again, the physical, the outward appearance is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with looking good for the moment, that day. It's showtime, and I need to make sure that all of the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But where it becomes an issue is that we are having issues with connecting, again, back to that treasure. We're having issues with connecting. The treasure box, sure, it looks awesome. The hope of opening up a treasure box, it's hopeful. It's what all dreams are made of. And for all intents and purposes, it looks good on the outside. But as we open up the treasure box, we find that there are some things, again, we're still talking about health. There are some things that just doesn't jive with us. There are some things that we want to put behind us, put in our past, but somehow those things keep coming up. It's like a bad dream, if you will, or a recurring dream where you see the treasure box or that carrot being dangled in our face. I see it. I can touch it. But I feel like I'm being tricked, if you will. I feel like it's being purposely dangled in my face. And from time to time, I get a piece of it. But yet it's being taken away from me. Rest assured, it's not a trick. The dangling carrot are the opportunities that we don't want to deal with. It's the issues of our lives, all of our lives, that continuously are dangled in front of us. And in order to, again, get to this treasure, you've got to do away with the things that have discouraged us, the things that we continuously allow to creep up on us. Again, we're still talking about health here. The mental and emotional health. And as I said before, I'm going to take a very strong stand and say that your mental health and your emotional health are the pillar to everything that you would hope for. They are the cornerstone that holds everything together. Your purpose is awesome. Finding your purpose is absolutely awesome. But in conjunction with your purpose, we must consider our health emotionally and physically. And absolutely, Dr. Vibes, absolutely. And when we consider those things, we are, in fact, in preparation, at least preparing ourselves. Remember, it's not going to happen overnight because from a child, we've been bombarded with stuff. We've been bombarded with just junk. The dregs of society kind of thinking, if you will, the bottom of the barrel, if you will, the sut, if you will. We've been bombarded with that kind of thinking. And it's like taking a glass or jar full of water, and it appears to be clear if you put the water in the glass and just moments there, and you're looking at that glass of water, it appears to be clear. But if you let that glass of water sit long enough, you see all the sediments settle to the bottom of the glass of water. And sometimes in life, we're filling the glass of our lives up with stuff. We're collecting stuff. We have collected stuff through the course of our lives, and more stuff to the point that everything appears to be clear. Everything appears to be the right choice. It appears to be the right decision that we've made. But once the smoke clears, once that glass of water sits for a moment, if you will, we find that the sediments of life start to sink to the bottom. And when they sink to the bottom, those are the very things that we find ourselves having to deal with. But again, it appears clear, much like the storefront. It looks good from the outside. But as we, again, back to the treasure, as we peel back the layers of the treasure and hope of finding or answering the question that many of us have in life: why am I here? What is my purpose? How do I find my purpose? You've got to peel back the layers. You've got to peel back the layers of discouragement. You've got to be honest with yourself to say that this doesn't feel right. I don't know. That's one of the other things that many of us are dealing with. Being honest with ourselves. And when we're honest with ourselves, wow, the power of honesty, man. The power of just saying, you know what? I don't know. I'm stuck in a place and I don't know exactly what to do. The power of just laying your cards on the table and just saying, I don't know. And how do I find what I'm looking for? How do I find my purpose? The power of the question. Again, the question alone is the beginning of knowledge, folks. How do I find my purpose? You must first admit that you're lost. Folks, wow, this is not rocket science. This is not rocket science. We've got to admit that we are lost first. This is not even for sale. But many people package it up for you. Here's my 3-week plan. Follow these steps and you'll be wealthy. You'll be rich. Follow me. And here we are, following someone who hasn't found their purpose. Because when they're saying, follow me, and they keep dangling that carrot, if you will, and saying to you, here's your treasure box. Man, how many of us have gone broke, literally, mentally, emotionally, and financially, chasing the dream? This show is about finding your purpose, finding your treasure. Not finding their treasure or helping them build their treasure. This show is about finding your purpose. How do you find your purpose? You make a connection with those who have found their purpose. And the next question is, well, how do I know that they've found their purpose? You'll know because their message will resonate with your heart. And too often, folks, we have ignored this heart. We have ignored the heart. We have ignored the intuitions, if you will. We have ignored this here emotionally and mentally. We've ignored it. All going after the appearance, only to find out that when we open up the treasure box, wow, that there was more work. We hope to open up the treasure box and to just dive into the treasures and to adorn ourselves with the jewels and all of the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from it. But in truth, in order to find your treasure, you would have to dig through all of the things that were discouraging to you. All of the people that said you're not going to be successful. All of the naysayers. All of the people who didn't believe in you. Dig through our own insecurities. But nevertheless, it's a treasure. But we have deemed the treasure as worthless. The treasure is worthless in our minds. It takes too much work to get to the bottom of this. It takes too much work to get to the core of this. I want what he has. I want what she has. But it takes too much work. And that's just it right there. It does take work. And again, society has sold us a bill of goods, folks, that we have been so ever joyous about, taking that bill of goods or that bill of sales to the counter and hopes of cashing it in for the big payday, only to find out that the person who sold it to us, outwardly, the storefront window looks good, but they never tell us about the inner workings. They never tell us about all of the challenges and struggles that they've gone through. And so I want to challenge each of you is to know that this life you've been given is a treasure. But you must find the treasure inside of the treasure box. You may have to do some work. And it's not that you will have to do some work. Don't allow anymore society to continue, the marketers, if you will, to continue to sell you a bill of goods that we are so excited, thinking and hoping that we found the piece to the puzzle or answered the question that everyone's been trying to answer. I found the answer. I found the answer. This is it. And taking it up to the counter, hopes of cashing it in, only to find that it's not worth anything. So I want to encourage each of you to look within, find your own treasure, and understand that though it may look shiny on the outside, you may not see it as shiny, but I guarantee you, if you and I keep allowing the world to keep you distracted, you'll never see the treasure that is within you. That is the whole purpose, my friend, is to keep you and I busy so that we don't find the treasure, to keep you and I busy thinking that our lives are such a wreck, that how do I become like him? How do I become like her? How are they doing it? And they're constantly bombarding us with the 30-day plan. Purchase my book, 6 Steps to Your Freedom, 6 Steps to Your Financial Wisdom. They're constantly trying to feed us this stuff. And we're buying it. We're buying it with the hope of, I want to look good on the outside. But my friend, once you get the treasure, once you find your purpose, it's going to take more than the outside to hold it up. It's going to take more than the outside. And again, I would use this. How long can a man hold his hand in front of his face without getting tired and eventually putting it down? To do this for a long period of time, it takes mental and emotional strength. So I caution all of you is to think clearly, ask questions, because questions, or even a single question, is the beginning of knowledge, the beginning of wisdom, for the very fact that you are asking the question. So, once more, the bill of goods, it's an image, if you will. The bill of goods is an image. It's imagery. It's magic, if you will. So don't fall for it, folks. You've got to find your own purpose. And once more, for the man who finds their purpose, wow, they found the treasure that God was talking about. That is your purpose. Your purpose is to find your purpose. And within your purpose, you find the treasure. Within your purpose, you find hope. Within your purpose, you find connection to people, near, here, and far. That is your purpose. Folks, don't believe that the message that the world has been delivering to us daily that we're so different. We're not so different. Your purpose is what connects you to people. My purpose connects us together. Your purpose connects me to you. And as long as life keeps us distracted with things, buy this, get this, take this, drink this, eat this, 10 ways to find good health. As long as life continues to sell us that image, if you will, that bill of goods that was already void from the very moment they handed it to us, that was deemed worthless from the very words that came out of their mouths. The very first time those words came out of their mouths, it was deemed void. So do yourself a favor. Ask your own question and know that the very question alone is the beginning of wisdom. So how do you find wisdom? You have to ask questions. You have to ask the right questions, if you will. If you keep asking the wrong question, it's simple. You're going to get the wrong answer. And that's just what it is in life. Perhaps we're asking the wrong question. Perhaps we are continuously looking for those who are, or at least selling us something. We're thinking they have all the answers. We're thinking that they've asked the right questions. And we jump out there into the water, if you will, without a life jacket. And we buy up all these products. We hang on their very words in hopes that they've got the solution. They've got the answer to our very question. And yet, again, taking that bill of goods to the counter and trying to cash it, only to find out that it was already voided before they even handed it to you. Good stuff, folks. Good stuff. The other piece to finding your purpose is being organized. Organization is key. It is a principle in finding your purpose, folks. And I can't stress this enough, being organized. It's great to have a clean desk. And we've heard the saying, or people saying different words, or I guess the fact they say that a clean desk is or an uncluttered desk, or clean desk is a clean mind or uncluttered mind. But in reality, that's not always the truth. Because again, the very appearance sometimes is deceiving. And so the organization that I'm talking about, of course, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have a clean desk or a clean space to work in. But the organization that I'm talking about is having this organized, having this mind, this thought process organized. That's what I'm talking about. And all of this ties into the very same thing. How do I find my purpose? How do you find your purpose? Are you willing to do the work? And really, that's it. That's worth about $5,000 in itself. Are you willing to do the work? The challenge is that most of us don't want to do the work. We want someone else to have done the work for us and to hand us the secret, to hand us the confidential envelope, if you will. that says top secret. And in truth, there is no top secret. The very secret, when someone tells you it's a secret, there is no secret. There is no secret. You just have to do the work. You have to do the work. And you have to make sure this is organized. And getting this organized, our mind, if you will, we've got to deal with some things, again, back to that treasure, if you will. We've got to deal with some things that sometimes are not likable about ourselves. Sometimes the very things that we see in people, the things that we don't like in others, is really a mirror, a reflection of ourselves. So we've got to get organized, if you will. We've got to get that mindset organized. And once more, the treasure is still a treasure. You, my friend, you are the treasure. And when we open it up, we see sometimes the things that we don't like about ourselves. And we find ourselves again getting jealous of another man or a woman. All of a sudden, we want to close the treasure box and deem that, oh, it's something wrong with their plan. Their plan doesn't work. Oh, this is faulty. This is that. And the truth of the matter, the treasure box is the treasure box. And all of us, we were designed without flaw. It's how you see yourself. If you don't see yourself as a treasure, who is at fault? Can you blame someone else who has taken the initiative to do the work? Again, to peel back the layers of our own issues, our own uncertainty, and go through the pain, the process, if you will, and just sometimes sit with it. Sometimes it's hurtful. The phone doesn't ring. No one wants to be bothered with you. And as we're peeling back the layers, again, this is what we have to do. This is what the man has done who has found his purpose. This is what the woman has done or is doing when she has found her purpose. She's peeling back the layers of her own insecurities, her own issues, the very things that will come up, or that thought process that will come up in life that says, I don't like her, I don't like him. Well, why don't you like them? Again, peeling back those layers to get to the perfection that we're already created in. A wonderful image and awesome likeness. Their similarities. And it's funny how much we look like our Father. And this is awesome. This is good stuff, folks. How do you find your purpose? You've got to make a connection with others. And sometimes the connections with others brings out the worst in us. And sometimes it brings out the best in us. But before the connection brings out the best in us, like the treasure, we've got to dig back the layers of our own issues and be able to surrender those things. And that's awesome in itself. We've got to be able to surrender some things, to give those things up, and finding your purpose. Again, we're Still talking about how do you find your purpose? And finding our purpose, we've got to, again, be ready and willing to surrender some things because this is a journey, baby. Finding your purpose is a journey, and everything is not going to go with you. Everything is not even permitted in this space. There are certain things in our lives that we're carrying. Wow. There are certain things in our lives that we are carrying and we have been carrying for too long. And we are trying to take those things into that secret space, if you will, that awesome space, that space of hope, that space of where our prayers are answered. We're trying to take those things, those our issues into that place of purpose. And purpose is saying no. Purpose is rejecting those things. And because we are so attached to those things, we are feeling rejected. The very things are issues that we're dealing with in life. When we're trying to take those things into that next level of our life, if you will, purpose says no. These things can't go with you, but we have a tendency to take them personal because we are so attached to those things, our issues, if you will. We hold them, we carry them like a blanket, like in the Charlie Brown's series, Linus, if you will. We carry our issues like a blanket, and we're trying to get into high places and trying to make connections with great people, people who are doing awesome things. And we're approaching them with our issues. And they're saying, wow, this, what you're carrying, it's not about you, but the things that we're carrying sometimes. That's not a part of my team. And we feel rejected because of it, because we are taking it personal. And it's not personal, my friend. Again, there are some things that we cannot just spray the gold spray paint on and say that it's gold. We can't just layer it with jewels and say, this is centuries of work at best. And that's in fact what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to layer life, our issues with the spray paint, gold spray paint, and deeming it as gold. Oh, I'm together. There's nothing wrong. I've got everything together. How does this look? The presentation was perfect. But again, we've got to consider the emotional health, the physical health. Again, being organized in here, being organized. And one more thing before we wrap it up. I'll leave us with read, the word read. We're still talking about how do I find my purpose? How do you find your purpose? Now, if we throw reading into this mixture, if you will, it helps to flame the process, if you will. It helps to keep the fire lit, if you will. Our questions, our reading, the very fact that there's doubt. There's nothing wrong with doubt. Doubt helps us to ask questions. Doubt brings us to a place where we're asking questions. But sometimes in doubt, we are fearful. And doubt, my friend, is a branch of fear. And because doubt is a branch of fear, sometimes we are afraid to ask questions and we remain in a place of doubt. And reading is essential to life. Reading is where we learn, we pick up new habits eventually. If we read and decide to put that information into practice, we acquire new knowledge, new skill sets. We learn from reading. And reading is important. But as you find your purpose, you'll learn how to read intuitively. And again, reading is key. Reading is key to change. Reading is essential to your journey. It's essential to you finding your purpose. Again, we're going to need mental and emotional fortitude to stay in this race. That's what this is about, folks. This is about finding your lane. And not only finding your lane, but running your best race. And you've got to be in good health. You must be in good health in order to fulfill the journey. And as I said earlier, many of us are more concerned about the appearance of what it looks like. And as most of us know of, have learned that looks sometimes are very deceiving. And we can tell when a person has done the work by what comes out of their mouth. And once more, if their message connects with you, resonates with your heart, that's where you need to be for a while, for a season, to learn what you need to learn. Take that information, apply it. We're still talking about reading, folks. Again, this is reading through our intuition, using our intuition to read. And this is what you get in your purpose. Once more, your purpose is spiritual. Your purpose is not religion. That's not what I said. Your purpose is spiritual. You are already connected to your purpose long ago. And when we ask questions, it's as if we're walking backwards, not in its literal sense, but figuratively. It's as if we're walking backwards and reconnecting with something that already was, that is right now. And again, I'm speaking figuratively. When we ask questions, it is the beginning of wisdom, the beginning of knowledge. There's nothing wrong with doubt. But once you have come into an understanding, once you have found the jewel, why is there room to doubt anymore? There's no need to doubt anymore. When you have found your purpose, and now you just sit there. And let me explain. I'm not saying sit there and do nothing, but you begin to work it. Your purpose needs a strategy also. And this is what I was saying earlier about the connection. The connection is spiritual, my friend. I put my life on that one. I'd be willing to put my life on the line for that one. The connection is spiritual. I didn't say religion. I didn't speak of any kind of religious organization either. The purpose is spiritual. And many of us don't want to hear that. Oh, he is being religious. No, that's not what I said. The purpose, your purpose, is spiritual. Your purpose is figuratively walking backwards. Because in life, we've walked forward through a bunch of junk, and it's layered our lives with just craziness and issues, be it true or false. We're walking forward only to discover that we've picked up all these different things that have attached themselves to us. And now we've got to take a moment, ask those important questions. And I would even venture to say, and again, I'm going to step out on a limb to say, if you ask the question, how do I find my purpose? You've got to be willing to do the work now. Because when you've asked the very question, how do I find my purpose? You are going to get a laundry list of things that need to be done. You're going to find that list and the connection that you made with people because they have the very same issues that you and I have, that we all have. So I challenge you to ask the question, how do I find my purpose? And you'll be handed a treasure box. And it'll look pretty. It'll look all nice on the outside. And you'll be happy and hopeful and ready to open it. But when you open it, it may not be shining. It may not be the glitter. It may not be shimmering, if you will. The shimmer, the glitter that the world has sold us, that's at the bottom. And you've got to work for that. So I challenge each of you to ask yourselves, how do I find my purpose? It really is an easy question. It's a simple question. But my friend, there are lots of layers to it. It's called the process. So in this process, as I'm wrapping it up here, in this process, we are considering our health. Our health is important. As I mentioned earlier, our health is the pillar that holds all of this together. I don't believe, and I'll say this, that the powers that be, for whatever it may be for you, I don't believe that we were sent here or placed in this earth without a purpose. I believe that the world and trying to discover who they are, people, just in general, trying to discover who they are, they have done a lot of different things that were shameful, that were not the right things to do, and that essentially created obstacles for us, all of us. And the more and more or the longer and longer, again, I'm stepping on a limb, that we have been disconnected, if you will, And I'm going to say the word loss. The longer and longer we have been out here in this crazy world, lost, trying to figure this thing out by ourselves, trying to tap the shoulder of that friend of ours and get into their mindset and answer that, and maybe they know the answer. Tap the shoulder or tweet those interesting tweets, if you will, and to different high profile individuals and asking, do you know the answer? The longer and longer we've stood out here, we have grown farther and farther apart, a disconnect, if you will. And because we have been disconnected for so long, and in many cases, starting as when we were a child, the world doesn't want you to know about finding your purpose. This is golden, folks. This is golden. The world doesn't want you to know about finding your purpose. If I don't want you to know something, I'm going to keep you distracted. This is what this is about. If I don't want you to discover something, I am going to keep you busy just doing fruitless things that just don't matter, to the point where you just exhaust yourself with just being busy. And then if you ever get to that place to find your purpose, you're too exhausted to carry out the plan. You're possibly sick in your body, maybe broke financially, mentally, and emotionally. Again, being distracted. Being organized is important as well. Collecting our ducks, if you will, putting our ducks in a row, knowing what to go after. And it's interesting because when we find our purpose, when you truly find your purpose, you'll discover that I've got to let some things go. Some things that I deemed as important at one time in a different world, I now have to let them go because my purpose has me focused. My purpose is by design. It is the treasure that you and I have been looking for. It is where your blessings are answered. It is where you can pray and ask for certain things according to the purpose which you have been designed for. And finally, read not only a physical book, or as we listen to an audio book, but within your purpose, you find the intuition that's available to all of us. That's been there. It's just been waiting for us to, again, dig through the layers of our stuff. Dig through the layers of the burden that life has placed upon our shoulders. And finding the intuition that's needed to tap into that space that says, this is where you must go. This is the road that I'm supposed to be on. Again, taking that journey, there are some things that you just can't take with you. All right, guys. Again, my name is Curtis Brooks, and I am the host of this wonderful show, Getting Answers, the entrepreneur show that's about getting answers to the questions that you have as an entrepreneur or professional. And this will conclude our show on how do I find my purpose. And I hope that this show has been a blessing to you. I hope that this show or the content that's been shared with you has answered your question. I didn't say questions, but answered your question. How do I find my purpose? So that you will take the information and run, not lightly, but swiftly, with the purpose that you are going to find and, again, dig through those layers and find the treasure which you will find in your purpose. Again, my name is Curtis Brooks, and this is Getting Answers. For more information about what I do, you guys can contact me on my website. That is going to be www.iamcurtisbrooks. Again, www.iamcurtisbrooks. You can also connect with me there on Facebook at I am Curtis Brooks on Facebook, and also there on Twitter at I am Curtis Brooks there on Twitter. So again, thank you guys. Much appreciated for you taking time out your day to listen and to encourage me. Again, much appreciated, guys. I respect all of you. And again, thanks a lot for being a part of the show. You guys have a great day.